Good evening, everyone. This is Knotted Rose. Today I will be demonstrating how to do the long tail cast on. Long tail cast ons are a way of using the tail of your yarn or the cut end to make a cast on. And basically it makes it so as you work your cast on stitches, your tail will not need to be woven in at the end. You can simply just cut off this end right here and you're set. So to do this, first you need to figure out how much yarn you're going to need for your tail end of the yarn. And the best way to do this is to take your tail end of your yarn, leave a generous end length, about I'd say 5 or 6 inches, and wrap your yarn around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And this gives you an idea of how much tail you will need per 10 stitches. And then you simply fold it over on itself. So there should be enough for 20 stitches, 30 stitches, and so on and so forth. It's better to overestimate the amount of tail you think you're going to need to cast on all your stitches than to underestimate. If you underestimate, you're going to have to rip out all of your cast on stitches and start again with more yarn until you get it right. So always overestimate. Now there's 2 ways of starting the long tail cast on, and we will be starting with the slip knot method to begin with. I'm only going to cast on about 10 stitches, so I need enough for 10 stitches in my tail length. Now I simply put my slip knot on. Now here's where you need to pay attention, because your working end of your yarn needs to go over your index finger, while your tail of your yarn needs to go over your thumb. And it just popped right off there. I keep doing that. So you go like that, and you hold like this. So you want to hold the 2 ends in your palm of your hand like that, with your working end over your index and your tail end over your thumb. Now, first you go up underneath this part of the loop of your thumb, catch the yarn that's over your index finger, pull it through the loop, release your thumb, put it back under here, and pull tight, and you've just cast on your first stitch. Again, around, underneath the tail end of your yarn, making a loop, pick up your index working yarn, pull through, release the thumb, and tighten. And once you get the hang of it, you can do it quite quickly. You have to be careful though. With most cast-ons, I would suggest that you use a needle or 2 size bigger than what you plan on knitting with to cast on, to make sure your cast-on is going to be loose enough until you get used to casting on. Now, let me show you the non-slip knot method for casting on. Now, you hold your yarn pretty much the same way, with your tail end going over your thumb and your working end going over your index finger, but you have no knot here in the center portion of your yarn. What you do is you slip your needle on underneath it, pin it in place with your finger, and pull back to make kind of like a slingshot shape, and then you go just like you were working the slip knot yarn. But instead of having a knot on this end, you simply just have 2 stitches, and they are secure. And see, now once you knit, here, let me cast on a couple and knit real quick. All right. All right, so I've got them cast on, and then I'm going to knit a row real quick to show you how secure that non-slip knot row is. All right, I've got one row of knits and one row of purls. Now if I was to just simply slide this off the yarn, you notice here is my tail end of the yarn. So that is actually the last stitch that was cast on right there. But the first stitch that was cast on is right here. And as you see, it's very secure. It doesn't have the ugly bump of the slip knot, and it will hold. Now, if we look at my knitted swatch, once you have a decent amount of knit stitches, you can see the features of the long tail cast on, which is you have a small purl bump at the very beginning that is caused by the tail being worked through. And it is a fairly stretchy and very secure and neat cast on. This is Knotted Rose. Thank you for joining us today on the long tail cast on how-to. Please like, comment, and subscribe for future videos.